Well, good morning, everyone. It is 10 o'clock. I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year and welcome you to the regular and organizational meeting of the Pine County Board of Commissioners and ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business is to elect a chairperson for 2024. Are there any nominations for board chair?
I will nominate.
I'll nominate myself.
Yeah, I heard Commissioner Ludwig nominate Terry Lovgren, and I heard Commissioner Waldham nominate himself. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, we'll take votes in the order that I heard the nominations. So all in favor of Terry Lovgren being chair?
We have to do a.
We have to do a roll call vote.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
We'll do them in the order that I heard them. We'll do a roll call.
Robert's rule, and I'm remote.
We'll do a roll call vote for all in favor of Terry Lovgren being chair. Debbie, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Holland,
Lovegren.
Commissioner Moore,
Lovegren.
Commissioner Lovegren, Commissioner Waldham,
Waldham.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Lovegren.
There were 4 votes for Commissioner Terry Lovegren and 1 vote for Commissioner JJ Waldham. The Commissioner Terry Lovegren, congratulations. You want to take over?
So then we'll do the election for the vice chair for 2024. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate myself.
Okay, so we have JJ nominated himself. And Matt, you said
Josh.
Josh? Okay, are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, so we have JJ on the ballot and we have Josh for vice chair. Deb, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Holland,
Moore.
Commissioner Moore,
Moore.
Commissioner Lovegren,
Josh.
Commissioner Waldham,
Waldham.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Moore.
Thank you. All right, so welcome to the vice chair for 2024, Josh.
Thank you.
Public forum. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak? Is there anybody online or in the room? Okay, so then we need to adopt the agenda. Do we have any additions?
Madam Chair, there are no additions.
Okay, can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move the agenda.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll second.
Matt and Steve. Deb, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Lovegren,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludwig,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so the agenda has been adopted. Now we're on the 2024 committee appointments. Is there anybody that anybody that wants to change any meetings or
Madam Chair?
yes?
Towards the bottom of page 2, there are 3 new committees that have been requested for consideration for appointment. There's the Towards Zero Death, the Public Health Advisory Committee Liaison, and that is facilitated by Sam Lowe. And then the Pine County Preparedness Advisory Council, and that's facilitated by Denise Anderson.
I would like to be on the Towards Zero Death.
You can go in order.
Yeah, so that would be the first one would be the Towards Zero Death. So we have Steve. Is there a second person that would like to, do we want 2 people or do we want one with an alternate or what would we want on that committee? Any ideas?
Probably just need one, I would guess, right?
Yeah, one with an alternate probably.
That's a state one.
Yeah,
Okay, so did anybody else want to be on that other than Steve for the primary? Okay, so Steve, you're on that one, and if it's okay with it, did anybody want to be the vice or the alternate on that committee?
I could be the alternate if you can hear me okay. I'm having difficulty hearing you guys. I don't know if it's a microphone issue. I worked through it with Ryan before the meeting, but
Okay, so you heard that we're talking about the Towards Zero Death then, JJ?
that's correct, Terry.
Okay, all right. So we'll put you down as the alternate then. So Public Health Advisory Committee, we have Sam. And then we need an alternate.
No, she facilitates the committee. This is the local advisory committee that she manages. And so she
Okay.
had requested that a commissioner be a liaison to that group.
Okay. Well, if it's okay.
I believe it'd be the same as like a liaison to the soil and water and liaison to the economic HRA EDA, wouldn't it?
Right,
no, it would actually be a committee member, wouldn't it?
you know what?
That's a different
Becky, do
committee.
you know what it would be with this one?
It would be part of the committee like Commissioner Hopland. And Commissioner Hopland actually sat on previously, or just restarting it.
Okay. Okay,
So Becky Foss, HHS Director, just updated that it would be a committee member of the advisory committee.
well, if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to be on that one to keep up with Shaq. Is that okay?
Yep.
I'll take a preparedness.
Thank you. And then Matt's got preparedness. Okay, any other changes on any of the boards? You're gonna take extension, correct?
Extension,
So, Steve is gonna take extension in my place. So I am wondering, with the facilities committee, do we have a lot of things that are coming up? It would be better to have somebody in person?
No. I've been on the facility committee. I think it's working just well remotely. What would be the change to have somebody in person?
I know that we have a lot of things coming up with the jail and other things, so being in person is usually a better benefit for the committee when they're meeting.
I haven't seen that at all, being on the facility committee for 3 years. And even going through COVID, doing everything in the county remotely.
Okay, are there any other changes that people want to see?
Yeah, I'd like to see, Madam Chair, I'd like to see if Matt would want to give up his zoning, and I would take that. Also land committee with everything that went on with some wrong forfeited land being sold. And I think me being the one that trying to work through that and make that a different outcome shows that I have an interest in it and have been shown to be correct. Personnel committee I'm interested in. November 23rd meeting, I was the commissioner who pointed out some pay grade errors and some step increase errors. Along with last month, apparently we hired a land manager without a job description and with wrong pay. So I think I've shown some true leadership there that I can offer to the board and to ultimately our taxpayers. The NLX and our other railroad. I'm also interested in that.
The NLX and what part of the railroad? Was there a second one that went with that? No, okay.
So there's some committees there. Just want to let you know. So it'd be zoning, NLX, land, personnel. Not to mention library.
Well, JJ, you're going after every committee that you hate. And I don't think that that's the attitude that we.
Point, that's a wrong point what you're saying there. If you look at Alan having 15 committee appointments, Lovegren at 13, me at 7, Matt's at 15, and Moore at 6. What's hate have to do with it? I'm looking at the numbers and just pointing out, like I said, the county took a piece of land, forfeited, sold it.
So JJ, when you had
We know
an agreement, or when you had an argument with that, your argument was the fact that we weren't selling it to anybody, that it wasn't going to be open for bid for anybody. You're not the one that found the error. So I think that
I
there's
did
some.
find the error. You're correct. Point of order, you're correct.
Well, okay.
I'm just, Madam Chair, with all due respect, I'm just expressing my interest in these committees. It has nothing to do with your accusation of hate. I've pointed out historically my commitment to these different issues. And I would just want a fair and equal opportunity to represent the county on these committees. And like I said, you have one commissioner with 15, you with 14, Matt with 15, Josh has 6, I have 7. And I will give up soil and water. I will give up another one. That will help you make it work.
Mrs. Chair.
Is anybody
Yeah.
willing to give up those committees that they're on?
No.
Go ahead, Josh.
I'd just like to say the reason I have so little committees is because that was my choice. So I did give up a few committees just because it was just a little too overwhelming for me with my other job and other commitments. But I would say, I really don't think Commissioner Waldham has the county's best interest in them committees, and I would not recommend to put him on them.
And if I can, Madam Chair, the reason I have so few committees is I was never asked to represent on any other one or given an opportunity. Like before this meeting was a perfect example of all the discussion and talking of appointments.
I think we're going to leave the committees as they stand.
It's the chair's prerogative.
Right.
And Madam Chair,
Mhm.
some of our joint powers agreements do require a board appointment versus a chair appointment.
Mhm.
And so if it were convenient, if you made a motion to approve them all as you have designated them, then that would remove any issue that some of the joint powers might have.
Okay. So for the 2024 board and committee appointments, Steve Holland took my position as the extension committee. Towards Zero Death, we have Steve as the appointed person and JJ as the alternate. I'm going to be on the Public Health and Advisory Committee liaison, and then preparedness, Pine County Preparedness Advisory will be Matt. And otherwise, all the other boards will stay as they are written. Do we need to do anything else on that?
If you wanted to make a motion,
Oh,
if someone
okay.
would make a motion. to
I'll
that
make a
effect.
motion that we hold those appointments.
I'll second.
Thank you. So we have Terry and Josh. Deb, can you do a roll call, please?
Chair Lufgren,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldham,
I'd like clarification. What was that again?
It was
What
as
committee?
is. Pardon?
For all of them as is?
Yes.
With the exceptions,
That we added. So Steve took my place on extension. And then Steve and you are on Towards Zero Death. I'll be on Public Health and Matt's on County Preparedness.
Is the, me being on soil and water gonna remain the same?
Yes. Yep.
Everything else remains the same then, is what you're saying?
Yes.
And no more discussion on the committees that I'm expressing interest in being on?
No.
No.
Part of it, JJ, is that,
I understand. I got it. I heard loud and clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
did you want to vote yes or no?
I oppose.
Commissioner Ludwig,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes,
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, then we have the 2024 board schedule. Everybody have that? Do you have that with you, JJ?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And may I ask for some clarification, Madam Chair?
You sure can.
Okay, as of the facility committee, that also remains the same as me and Matt, and business as usual, like we have the last 3 years on the facility committee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, back to the working draft. Are there any questions or comments about the dates and the changes that are made for elections? And meetings? What are then?
my only question would be, is it possible to move the second January meeting from the 16th to the 23rd?
I already did a public hearing notice with the 16th.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, any other questions on
I'll move them.
the schedule? Thanks, Matt. A second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Josh. Matt and Josh for a first and second. Deb, can you do a roll call?
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes,
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lofgren.
Aye.
Thank you.
So now we're on approve the minutes from December 19th, 20 board meeting and the summary for publication. Are there any questions or comments on that?
I'll move them.
Josh
I'll second.
and Steve. Got Josh and Steve. Deb,
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lofgren.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldham,
yes,
thank you.
And then we're on minutes of the boards, the committees and correspondence. We have the land surveyors report and the Minnesota County's Intergovernmental Trust Certificate of Excellence.
I'll move those.
Thanks, Steve.
Second.
Thanks, Josh. Are there any questions or comments?
I got one. Yes, sure. The certificate of excellence was for, what was that for again?
Mr. Chair, or excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yep, you're fine.
It's for property and casualty for an outstanding loss ratio below 50%.
Oh, okay.
That means we did well in our property and casualty insurance.
Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair,
Yes.
what was our refund this year? What, did we get one from them, MCIT?
We did, and it was just about the amount we have budgeted, and Kelly is looking it up.
143.
That's sounding right.
Yeah, 140,000.
Nice.
143, 167.
Good job.
Sticks in my mind for some reason.
Are there any other comments? No. Okay, Deb.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lofgren,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldham,
yes,
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to approve the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda anybody has a question about?
I just have some items I would like to note,
Okay.
and because there are some sizable donations,
Yes.
many of us remember Jane and Jerry Robbins.
Mhm.
They had a love for service animals. When my wife and I started being puppy raisers for Can Do Canines, Jerry had offered to take me to Michigan to be a puppy raiser for the leader dogs, and then we found out about the Can-Do canines and switched that. And so we had a great relationship with dogs, and the Rock Creek Lions have also been a huge supporter of service dogs, not only our canine, but the Can-Do canine and the leader dog program. So I want to point that out. And then David or Kelly, if you could just talk about when people donate to something, just so they're assured that it just doesn't go in our general fund. It goes to that specific thing that they donate for.
Yes, thank you. So Kelly Schroeder, County Auditor Treasurer. These donations, they go into specific donation accounts for the specific purposes. So during budget time, sometimes I will bring up that list of restricted accounts. And you can see those donation accounts listed on there, of their carryover balances if they're not spent.
Then, Madam Chair, you'll also notice on the agenda and then in the minutes, those designations are included so that there's clarity as to why people might donate, and then the record in the minutes indicates what that purpose was for.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Are there any questions, concerns? Nope. Okay, Debbie, do you want to do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lufgren,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludwig,
All right.
Commissioner Holland.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we're on to our regular agenda. We've got the Health and Human Service Advisory Committee.
Go ahead, Steve.
Matt, you want to take that?
I'll start it off. Okay. We had our meeting on December 19th. Two major things, well, three were discussed, county burials, transportation, and Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. With the county burials, there's been a long, I can't remember what year it was, but it's a long time since there's been any adjustment. And we have to take care of the people that don't have the resources to be buried in. The fee has been $1,500, and funeral homes aren't even breaking even on that. So we discussed it, and we thought we'd recommend to the board to raise it to 1,800. It still doesn't make it profitable. It gets them more towards being profitable. And the budget can handle it.
That'll make it nicer for this funeral homes.
Hmm?
So that'll make it nicer.
Yeah, the funeral home, 'cause it's a lot of work for them, and they really don't have a choice, and then we have to do it, you know. Then the transportation, Steve, I don't know, do you want to talk about that, Steve, or?
Transportation, this is for people, if I get off track, Becky, help me out, but people that need rides for like medical appointments or the things that are on MA insurance. It's our obligation to make sure that they get to the doctor's appointments. Our volunteer drivers have dwindled to zilch. I believe we've got 2 in the pool right now. So it leaves, we don't have a lot of options in Pine County.
So we're using staff.
We're using staff or Attaboy Taxi, which is our only option, and they do a fine job, but it's $3 a loaded mile. So that's a budget impactor. We don't have Ubers available. We don't have multiple taxi services available. And so volunteer drivers is what we have relied on for years. The problem with volunteer drivers is a lot of the volunteers have aged out. They're the people that now need the volunteer to take them to a doctor's appointment. And so I guess we've got a twofold approach. One is try to work with organizations to help bolster our volunteer driver pool, or find other transportation delivery services.
Yeah.
And so that, I think our first thing would be to probably lean on our churches and people that, I think there's a unawareness probably that how critical it is to have volunteer drivers. But Mindy said even in our vets program, we used to have a stack of people that would drive the veterans van to the VA in Minneapolis and in St. Cloud. And now that number, I believe, is down to about 6 or 7 or 3.
Yeah.
3. So there may be days when
They're aging out also,
they're aging out.
the volunteer drivers for vets. Yeah.
And so we're at a critical juncture with transportation for our vets and for our general population. So look for some ways, and maybe the paper can help us out in pointing that fact out, that maybe there are people that are sitting around wondering, what am I gonna do today? Well, we could take somebody to a doctor's appointment, somebody we never knew before. And that's a scary thing for some people to get involved with, but all the people that I've ever talked to that have been volunteer drivers seem to get more out of doing that than the people that receive the rides.
Yeah.
So, something to think about.
Yeah, we'll have to keep working on that problem. And then Becky talked about the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training and how their HHS department uses that organization when the clients have to find work, you know, the able-bodied people, and for education. So
Mhm.
the system is working pretty good, so.
Good.
That's pretty much it.
Anything else on that one?
So I would like to make a motion to raise the burial fee to $1,800 from $1,500.
And I'll second that motion.
Right, so we have Matt and Steve to raise the burial from 1,500 to 1,800. Are there any questions? Maybe can you do a roll call?
Yep. Chair Lefgren,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldham,
You're muted, JJ.
Yes, sorry about that.
thank you. Commissioner Ludwig,
You're welcome.
You got it, JJ.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
thank you.
Consider a bid for the official publication for 2024.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we advertised for publication bids. We did receive one bid. It's a slight increase from 2023. It went from $9 per inch to $9.25 per inch. But we're required to publish certain legal information, and so we would request approval of this bid.
We have a motion to
I'll
consider.
move that.
Steve,
I'll second.
Steve and Josh. Are there any questions? Can you do a roll call, Deb?
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes,
Chair Ludwig,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Yeah.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lefgren,
Aye.
thank you.
Extension Committee Board Appointments. I guess I have a question for you. So normally it has been, do you know how many members we have that are at large?
At-large members, I believe there are 2,
2 at large, and then otherwise it's each district?
each district, correct?
Okay.
And just the statute makes them all at large. The county has had a
Okay,
tradition of trying to make sure there's geographic representation.
okay. So are there any other questions on the people that we have? Linda Deffenbauer as being one, and so she would go, it's a 3-year term, so till 2026, and then Donna Sherrier. Any questions? No, can we have a motion to accept those two people?
I'll move the extension committee amendment.
Thanks, Josh. Second,
I'll second it.
Josh and Steve, are there any questions or concerns? Okay, Deb?
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes,
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lofgren,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then we are on the Pine County brand, the Civic brand. Presented by Brissa. Hello there.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good, Happy New Year. Good to see you all.
Morning.
Just a disclaimer, I'm getting over being sick, so I'm gonna do my best to not sound totally weird through this. But just wanted to give you a heads up in case you're wondering what's going on with my voice sometimes. Yeah, so my name is Brisa Byford with Civic Brand. I know I've spoken to you all in some way. And over the last just about exactly a year, we've been working with the county to develop this county brand. And so I'm going to share my screen and go over kind of the culmination of our efforts for you today. All right, excuse me. Yeah, so like I said, we've been doing this over the last year and have had a lot of, great feedback from staff and, work with the community in focus groups and things like that. So excited to show you what we've come up with together. So first I'll talk just about the process. So what have we done to come to developing this brand? So it's really split up in 4 phases. So the first is research and engagement. At a high level, these are some of the things that we did. So, we did a visit there in March of last year and had a walking and driving tour, did some focus groups while we were there. We also held had an online community survey, did several interviews and focus groups, both in person and virtually, and then a ton of online research as well about Pine County, along with some of your nearby and kind of competitor counties. All of that research and engagement we distill into what we call the brand audit, and that kind of shapes the rest of the project going forward. That it really defines the brand challenges. So what are the things that we think the brand can help address that needs to overcome in terms of both messaging, visuals, all those kinds of things, and then brand objectives. What are the goals? So that's research and engagement. That's phase 1. Then we move into the brand strategy phase, and it's to just always reinforce that when we say brand, we're not talking about only logo. We're talking about a bigger picture story and kind of ethos about the community. And so that brand strategy can be separated into these 5 parts. So 1, what is the county vision? From all that research and engagement, what's that common shared vision that we learned? And then the brand platform, which is kind of a shorthand for the story, a really quick way to understand the direction. The brand story, so the more narrative format thing. Brand principles, which are really just fundamental truths, kind of some central tenets of what it means to be Pine County. And then brand architecture, which does get more into the visually, how are things within the organization structured? So like different departments, different programs, things like that. That makes up the brand strategy. And then we go into the actual design process. So what does that look like? What does that logo system look like? What are the colors, the fonts, all of those kinds of things. And ultimately, all getting put together into what we call the implementation guide, which is what we are looking to finalize, after this presentation today. The implementation guide is built around some focus areas that came out of, our understanding and learning from the community, as well as just some industry best practices. So all of these different implementation items around these focused areas. There's also catalyst projects, which we consider to be pretty instrumental to launching the brand and growing the brand. And so we flesh those out a little bit more than kind of a line item around a focus area. Also brand guidelines. So all of the ins and outs of how to actually use the logos and the colors. You can't have it bigger than or smaller than, X size, don't skew it, all of those kinds of technical things that staff will need to be equipped with to use the brand correctly and consistently. And like I said, that's what we're looking to deliver upon our conversation today. So that's high level overview of the process. When I said research and engagement, one of the things that came out of that brand audit and all of that learning was, what are the challenges that we need to figure out how to tackle with this project? So the first challenge that we identified was that really the county government itself, you aren't getting credit or enough credit for the work that you're doing. And then also the great place that it is to work. We heard nothing but like glowing reviews from staff about what a wonderful place it is to work compared to other government organizations that they've worked at or for. And so how can we help the county government get more credit for all the things that you do in the community? The second challenge was that the outdoors is obviously a huge part of the county identity, right? But it's not unique to just the county. That's kind of regionally a thing in general, right? So how can we make that, how can we tackle that to show, a uniqueness for the county? And then the third one was, there is a little bit of a perception problem that we uncovered of the county. And this, I'm speaking of the county as just the place, not the county government, as a place that has limited things to do. It has lower income, it has drug problems, things like that. So how can we overcome that perception? So those three challenges then turned into, what are the brand goals? So again, there's three. The first is really to help the county get more credit, right? For all of the great work that you're doing and do that through a strategic brand architecture and help the agency itself be recognized as an innovative and accepting place to work. The second was to really get more people to buy into a countywide vision. So really to use this entire branding project as a catalyst for the entire county kind of coming together under this shared vision. To unify the area and promote strategic growth, not just growth for growth's sake, but growth where it's needed, right? And making sure that messaging includes an element of the outdoors in some way, but has some sort of kind of unique twist to the county. And then the third was really to help facilitate, engagement with groups that are either traditionally underrepresented or didn't feel like they really had a voice before, haven't had much interest in engaging with the county. Use this project, this brand, as a way to make everyone know that their voice can be heard and should be heard, and that's important to the county. So then moving into that brand strategy phase, we learned all of that from our engagement and everything I just shared with you. And then we translated that into the pieces of the brand strategy. So the county vision that we identified is this: Pine County will be a place where people come to recreate, to work, and to start successful businesses. A place whose identity remains rooted in the outdoors, but that isn't thought of as in the middle of nowhere. We heard that a lot about people thinking, oh, outsiders think we're in the middle of nowhere. We actually kind of think of us as in the middle of everywhere, that sort of idea. And so instead of isolated, Pine County is connected. Instead of in the middle of nowhere, Pine County is in the middle of it all. So that's that shared vision, which then shaped the platform. Like I said, is that shorthand, and it's using in the middle of it all. Now, let me elaborate kind of on what that means. It's something that's both literal and figurative. So literally, obviously, geographically, kind of in the middle between the Twin Cities and Duluth, right? Along a major interstate, so physically in the middle of areas. But then when we get a little bit more philosophical, for residents, in the middle of it all can mean that they can be engaged in their community and make a difference. They live in a convenient location. They're in the middle of a lot of great outdoor activities and opportunities for them to enjoy and experience nature. They're in the middle of peace, calm, solitude, and joy. They're a part of a community and looking out for one another. In the middle of a growing arts scene, that's really something that became apparent during our engagement. And then in the middle of an area with a lot of cultural history and growing multicultural opportunities for those to kind of expand. For Pine County employees, so employees of the county government, in the middle of it all can mean it's in the middle of a different way of running local government. It's working in a place that enables trust, autonomy, flexibility, freedom, in the middle of a great place to work where their work makes a difference. and being involved and invested in decisions. And then for businesses, that in the middle of it all means that they're, doing business in a convenient location, but they're in the middle of this customer base that supports local and wants more local businesses. And then also in the middle of an employee base that would love to stay in the county for work. We heard from a lot of people like, I wish I didn't have to drive, to the Twin Cities or to another county for work. I like that I can, my job keeps me here, things of that nature. So really in the middle of it all can speak to a lot of different audiences and mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people in that one statement. So that's the platform. Now, how can we expand on that with the brand story, the narrative that really kind of tugs on the emotional strings a little bit more? So this is the brand story. I'll read it here in just a second, but this is intentionally written first person, as if Pine County was a person and speaking to you right now. So I'm Pine County, right in the center of Minnesota's natural beauty, and I'm not what you might think. I'm truly in the middle of it all. I offer you a strategic location, a world of outdoor adventures, and a peaceful sanctuary. Here in the middle, I empower you to make a difference and enjoy both meaningful work and play. As your home, I provide a sense of peace and a supportive community. As Pine County, I embrace being in the middle, which means embracing life's finest possibilities. And then the brand, which I mentioned, are some fundamental truths. We like to use these as decision-making filters. So going forward, whether it's a decision about which image to use on a social media post, or even things that are more concrete, like which, planning projects to do or how to make decision, for economic development, we like to kind of use these as a filter to run things through. Do they align with these 3 brand principles? So the first that we identified was community and connection. So again, these are written first person, same as the story. I'll give you the shirt off my back. I'm down to earth, kind, and caring. I love my community and I love building new connections. For basically everyone we spoke to, that's what they loved about Pine County, right? It was like this kind of small town feel, community feel. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone's willing to help everyone out. The second is an outdoor playground. I love being outdoors and experiencing all of the activities this beautiful land has to offer. There's a new outdoor adventure to experience every day. I think that one's probably pretty straightforward and obvious. And then the third is open to new perspectives. Being in the middle means I see all sides. Everyone's opinion matters and everyone is part of the community and our future. One thing we identified was this real need to figure out how to kind of unite North and South Pine County. And so that's really what this one's speaking to, so that, every community within the county feels included and part of a shared common identity, as opposed to, their individual townships or areas within the county. So then moving into the actual design, once we talked through that strategy with staff and they were all on board, then it was time to figure out how does that look visually. And so I'm going to walk you through a series of slides that kind of build on each other, but everything in this identity, obviously we tried many different things and staff has seen a lot, Leslie in particular has seen a lot of different kind of options and directions, but we all ultimately agreed that this is the strongest, and that's why we're here presenting this one to you today. But everything in this visual system is built around this icon, which is a pine tree. Obviously, it's the county shape. But it's also a little bit of a P, which we like. You don't have to notice that. It's like not critical to its meaning to get that. But if you kind of, maybe back up and blow your eyes a little bit, you can see how it can look like a P. So it's that adding that the county shape with the pine trees, Pine County, and then a P for pine, obviously, to build that icon. And so you can see how that might look on, a hat that you all have, and that people in the community can get or purchase on a water bottle, right? It really stands on its own and feels like a unique, like ownable thing for Pine County. But then obviously it needs to say Pine County, right? And so this is how that mark looks. This is kind of the parent of the entire brand system, which I'll explain in a little bit. So this is the full kind of primary logo mark. You can see how that could look on a mug that may be sitting on, your table in front of you in a few months. But there are a couple different options just for size reasons and other uses. This version on the left just makes the text a little bit smaller, just for flexibility and formats. And then there is a word mark only version as well, that can be used. And these are all designed to be used kind of interchangeably because it's all very clear that they're part of the same system. The color palette is this. So keeping, that kind of hunter green as the primary, but pulling in some other somewhat brighter colors as a way, one, to just give staff the tools that they need, because, designing something with only green gets pretty repetitive and pretty, limits you quite a bit. But to pull in some other colors also as a way to help introduce, help kind of tie in the brand principles of like, bringing the entire community together. And there's a lot of different things going on. And also just to add some like freshness and modern design. So you can see how that looks in this different color palette with all of these different colors. And the brand guidelines would go into detail about, how you can or cannot use them. For example, you don't want to use the yellow on top of orange kind of thing for contrast and legibility. And then here are two just kind of media neutral examples of how to bring in the messaging and the kind of ethos identified with the platform and the brand story in with the actual visuals. So for example, immersed in the outdoors, that messaging, you can see how that speaks to that in the middle of it all, right? Immersed and in the middle, a connected community, same there, just a different kind of take on that, just to show how those two ideas can be married. Some more mock-ups here just to keep painting the picture. So, on a staff polo, on business cards, what does that look like? On letterhead, and you can start to see how some departments that, need their own kind of marks can still tie into the system, but have, the finance department or economic development start to, have a little bit more credit there. And so these are the 4 kind of ways to use this kind of primary piece of the brand system. So you've got your primary county mark up on top. There's some alternate versions here just for size and format needs, a word mark version for the same reason, as well as showing different departments and how they can use the branding. So it's very clear that these are all part of the same system, but they don't have to be, exactly the same mark, right? But then through our conversations in that research and engagement phase, there is a need for some kind of tourism related efforts. And so how can the county have a mark that allows them to work on that front a little bit without kind of stepping on the toes of some of the communities and their efforts? So there are kind of an A and B format there in terms of logo marks. So on the left, that Discover Sandstone, Hinckley, and Pine City format. That's a version that we've talked to staff about that could work when doing kind of broader countywide tourism related efforts or supporting the tourism efforts of an individual place within the county. But then on the right is kind of a B format of that, where Pine County takes, is the most prominent thing. And then some of the communities are listed down beneath. We think these can both work. It's just going to kind of depend on the use case really for which one, because the reasoning for the one on the left, people don't generally, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but don't usually think of visiting a county, right? They think of visiting a specific place that just happens to be within a county. So that's why in the left version, there is not actually Pine County listed, but it's very clear visually that it's all tied together. Whereas on the right, there are some, there might be some need for Pine County to get more credit in that case. And so that's why Pine County kind of takes precedence there, but then some of the communities are listed. And then with that format, we also have just the opportunity to list one more to just help play in that full north to south from top to bottom of the county. The major ones are kind of listed there. So you can see how that looked, if the county were to place billboards, similarly to how some of your other kind of competitor counties have billboards coming out of the Twin Cities, up towards you. This is how that could work for Pine County. This is, again, just kind of conceptual, just to show the idea. But then there's also these two badge systems, and I also definitely see the potential for this badge system to expand with other words. But really we identified, a need for a way to kind of help with local county pride. There's a lot of pride in individual places and townships within the county, but how can we unite the entire county? And so that's kind of what these badges aim to do. So the Made in Pine County on the left, we see that local businesses can tie into that. So for example, brewery could put that on their, their pints or on the back of a beer can or beer bottle, right? That's a Made in Pine County product. But another local retailer could put that on merchandise tags or things like that. Businesses that make products within the county as a way to share their pride for this is a Made in Pine County product. And then on the right, that Proudly Pine County can be used in a couple different ways. The first is as more of an emblem of county civic pride, right? So it could be on t-shirts, on stickers that people stick on their water bottle or the back of their car, right? As just a way to show their pride. But then the second way can be used kind of more by the county government as a way to endorse other events or programs or things going on within the community that aren't necessarily maybe county initiatives, but that the county supports. They can put that on a poster with that event, or, it can be on the t-shirt for the 5K, things like that. So that can be used in a couple different ways. So you can see examples of that here. For example, if there's a local retailer that wants to put that on their merchandise tags. And so here is that full system altogether. So like I said, it's a system of marks so that it's very clear that these all are part of the same family, so to speak. But there's variations within them for different uses and different audiences, things like that. So this is a full system that we, have developed over the last year with the help of staff. Then implementation is really the most important part, right? If you think of when they designed the Nike swoosh back in the day, that really meant nothing on day one, right? It was Nike's consistent implementation, consistent use over time that gave the swoosh meaning with the just do it messaging, right? And so that's the most important thing is implementation, using this consistently, correctly, and just building association and meaning over time. And so like I mentioned, the implementation guide is organized around focus areas. And so these are the 4 focus areas. The first, organizational and brand management / measurement. That really is everything to do with, the measurement, the management, really just the standard kind of industry practice stuff, right? Making sure that things are consistent, making sure that, everyone has their business cards, social media and the website get updated, all of those kind of more logistical things. The second is a series of recommendations around county pride and getting credit. So how, now that we have these tools and this strategy, how can the county, what actions should the county take towards, getting more credit as an organization and building county-wide pride? The third is all around marketing and economic development. So things to do with, obviously, economic development. So growing businesses, bringing businesses, entrepreneurship, as well as just marketing. So that's going to be marketing around businesses. That's going to be marketing around tourism. That's going to be marketing just within the county and growing awareness of the brand and your efforts just within county residents. And then the fourth focus area is all about the built environment. So I get that, counties are different than cities in that, you have to manage many different places, and they're all doing their own kind of things in terms of like planning and zoning and the projects that they've got going on versus, if you were a city government, you could control them more directly. So it's a little bit different than if we were presenting a city branding project right now. But the built environment really is the most important thing in terms of brand, because it is the experience that people have every day, right? So when you're driving through the county, if you've been there before or not, you're getting an impression of like what there is to do in that county, what the county stands for, what's important, all of those kinds of things. And so the built environment and focus area has a series of recommendations around like in terms of the actual physical built environment of the county, how can that help tell the brand story? How can you help accomplish your goals through the built environment? And so that's what we need approval on here today for everything I just showed you so that we can go finish out the implementation guide. We've got it, 80, 90% there, but don't want to 100% do it until we spoke to you all today. And so, yeah, that's the presentation that I've got. I'm happy to go back to any slide if I need to and clarify or answer questions. And Leslie, I'm not sure if there's anything else you wanted to add that I didn't cover here today, but that's everything I've got for you.
Anybody have any questions? Comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Brissa, on the community survey, again, what was the total then of the total count on surveys?
I don't
Both,
remember exactly. I'd have to look back. It was definitely over 300. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head because that was so tough to look back. It was definitely over 300 though. I know that for sure.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Okay, yeah, and that would be combined like by email and whoever scanned that card. You had postcards, and then
Right.
that was the only two means really to get surveyed, right? Or
I'm
the
sorry.
only means?
What was that?
Yeah, the card was the only means to survey, correct?
It was also promoted on social media and like that. Yeah.
And then did you go look for any likeness copyright issues when you do something like this?
We do kind of an initial, scan. The more detailed, like full copyright scan is generally something that needs to be done by the attorney, because there's a lot more detail that goes into that. So we've done kind of an initial, like, we think you're safe, but to fully copyright it, which also just to note, not every place that we work with chooses to do. Some do, some don't. Do like a
So
full.
if there's a likeness copyright issue, you won't be held responsible, but we will at the county. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you're going to go through the full, obviously like application and initial search and stuff, like things that would come up, we've done kind of an initial like tertiary search and haven't seen anything. I'd have to look back at our scope language to see the exact like liability, but I mean, it's not an issue that we've encountered before.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like a Chevrolet bow tie or the Coca-Cola logo, but I guess I would like to know for sure that it was thoroughly checked for anything else. Anytime you're using something that it could be a likeness copyright concern
For sure.
as well.
Yeah, we can definitely. I'm sorry.
And then who would be responsible if that was in our original bid? Or would that just be a surprise payment for us when something?
Yeah, we can definitely work with the county attorney if that's something that you guys want to pursue, to do a more robust search, because obviously there's a lot of different places to look, really. And if there were something to come up, we can look at how to address that.
Thank you, Brissa.
Any other questions?
So where do we go from here?
Yeah, I guess I mean, I like the whole concept.
Yep.
I like it. It's pretty simple. It looks like
morning.
Leslie's gonna answer our question.
Sure.
Well,
Leslie Sauter, your economic development coordinator. So what Brisa and her team is looking for is board approval of their final brand as they presented it to you, so they can move forward with the implementation plan, because that will get us to the next steps. So they're about 90% completed. If you like what you saw, then they can move forward with rolling out each of the departments' logos and what they look like, and then giving the implementation plan to staff to start rolling out onto the website, onto our letterhead, things like that.
I think it looks nice. I like what they came up with.
it's simple. I
It
mean,
is.
that's always the key, I think. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
So we need a motion. I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Tash. So that's a motion to move forward?
Yep.
All right.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Steve. So we have a motion by Josh, second by Steve. Any more questions, concerns, comments?
Under discussion, I have a comment.
Yes.
Like, like Steve said, it's, simple. I like that. So really, on the early discussions of this, from what I recall, wanted to get away from the typical logo of our county and with the trees. And from what I recall, it was time for a change. So really, we just had a logger come in and take a couple of the trees off the logo to kind of looks the same, which is simple. I like it.
And if I recall, we never had a brand. We had some we had some letterhead. That was about it. We've always kind of used I think if people got something made, they use the outline of the shape of the county.
Mhm.
So I kind of like the pine tree in the middle. I would have put a few more zigs and zags in the pine, because it's. But I'm not a designer, so.
I like what they.
And Brissa, I seen the P right away.
Yeah,
That's
I did.
the first thing I've seen.
I see really poorly, so that's all I saw.
Now, Brissa.
Oh, yeah.
I know you probably just photoshopped that or something, but our whole area, there's a lot of other fish choices. I think maybe Matt or Terry or Josh or anyone there probably thinks the same way. Maybe a walleye or something else, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, totally conceptual. Just to stock imagery to illustrate the idea.
Right. Thank you.
I have to say, driving up Highway 35, I see the Lake County billboard and I think, wow, no, it'd be nice to have a Pine County one there. But I like the branding that goes with it. I like all the thought that went through and, we are in the middle of everything. And I think, there are the two ways to look at it. And I like the way that was phrased out and to work that forward. Thank you. So we have a motion by Josh and a second was by Steve, right?
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Debbie, do you want to do a roll call?
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lufgren,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldham,
I oppose.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Thank you, Deb. So we are going to recess the regular board meeting and convene the Rail Authority meeting. Do we need to do anything special or just?
You did it.
Okay, so we need to appoint a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. For 2023, Steve was the chair, I was the vice chair, the secretary was Dave, and the non-voting, and then Kelly was also on there. Do we want to make any changes? Actually, we don't do anything.
Well, occasionally we do. We have, because we own that section of
Yeah.
old
that
rail
looks-
line, it's still just a grade. And so occasionally we have a permit that we have to grant access to. And I think traditionally we followed the chairmanship and vice chairmanship of the Pine County Board. And so with that, I would make a motion that Terry Lovegren be the chair, Josh Moore be the vice chair, our county administrator, David Minke, would be the secretary, and the treasurer would be our auditor treasurer, Kelly Schroeder.
Right, we have a motion by Steve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Matt. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I would like to be considered for chair of this.
So we have a motion. Are there any?
I think the option is to amend the motion, Madam Chair.
And the motion, correct.
So is that what you're doing, JJ?
Yes, amend the motion that I be chair of the Sioux Line Trail or the Pine County Regional Railroad Authority.
Okay, is there a second to the amendment to the motion? a second to the amendment of the motion? One more time, is there a second to the amendment of the motion? So the amended motion failed due to no second. Are there any other questions? Deb, can you do a roll call, please?
And this is back for the
For
original.
the
motion.
original motion, yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lofgren,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldham,
I oppose.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Commissioner Holland.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Deb.
you.
Motion carried. So consider the county board or rail authority ownership of the former Sioux Line Railroad. If interested in considering a change, staff can be directed to research further and other regional rail authority business.
Yeah,
So
so
anything that
Madam,
needs-
yeah, Madam Chair, I can kind of fill in on that. And I want to be clear too, so the Sioux Line is not the only property that the Railroad Authority owns. There's actually the old railroad line in Brook Park that the Railroad Authority owns. And so it's that one as well. And actually ownership is what we're talking about today, with the Sioux Line. So this Railroad Authority was made back in the 1990. And looking back at those meeting minutes, it appears that the purpose of creating the Railroad Authority was for the purchase of the Sioux Line Railroad. However, in 1992, when that was finalized, the ownership was just put in Pine County, not Pine County Railroad Authority. So since then, we've operated that line up there with the trail system as the Railroad Authority, providing the management of it. So we have adopted an ordinance for acceptable uses on it. We have worked with the North Pine Rider Snowmobile Club on the maintenance and upkeep, those types of things. And that has all been the Railroad Authority that has done that.
We did it right away in the Brook Park.
Yep, so we've done a couple easements across the Brook Park one. And so in working with this, I guess I wanted to just bring up the question of, would we want to pursue researching the pros and cons of actually transferring the ownership of the Sioux Line to the Railroad Authority? And I had some brief conversations with Reese on it. I think we would need to do some more research of, the authority of the Railroad Authority has different authorities than Pine County does, and which one would be the most beneficial. Or if we want to just leave it as it is with Pine County as the ownership and the Railroad Authority as the manager, that would be fine too.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so if we do that, would we have to create a separate board then?
No.
We are the rail.
So it just meets as a separate board. And then when I really, the county still owns it, right?
Madam Chair.
Or
So
they do.
the county and the rail authority are separate entities under the law. Either the county or the rail authority can own the Sioux Line Railroad corridor and can operate. We just have this situation where the rail authority owns the Brook Park piece and the county owns the Sioux Line piece.
Oh, that's what I didn't
Right,
understand.
so Kelly just wants to make sure that we're all aware of that, and for the last, 30 years, we've been operating with the county owning the Sioux Line, and so if action is done, the county can take that action versus having to convene the rail authority. But if there's an interest in transferring ownership to the rail authority, that can be done. That seems to be the original intent, why the rail authority was formed back in 1990 or 91. So if you want to pursue that or have us, pursue that and think about that, that's the question.
Yeah, is there a benefit?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what
We're getting at,
we
right?
want the research to find
Yeah.
out if there is a benefit. It seems like they formed the rail authority for a reason, and then they never followed through with the reason. Because I suppose the board changed or they had I don't know why, but nobody will probably ever know. But it seems on the surface to make sense that if we're gonna own old railroad property, that the rail authority would be the owner of it. Since we already own one chunk of old rail line. So I would just be curious to
I think,
find
Steve,
that out.
is it because there's still a railroad going through that one and there's not a rail up there anymore?
Well,
No,
the Brook Park one, there's not a rail.
there's not a railroad.
It just never got put together.
Oh, but it still goes right beside it or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Where is that lap?
There's the ownership of that former rail corridor was transferred and is no longer an operational rail line. There's still an operational rail line. The county nor the rail authority has any ownership interest in the operating rail line.
Right.
Yeah, the
So
Brook
that's-
Park one starts at the county line and then kind of goes up to where the new line
Yep,
comes
yep.
up across 107 there.
It would make sense to find out if it would be better off having them both under the same ownership instead of having separate ones.
It's somewhat of a head scratcher for me because we're the same people.
That's where I'm at.
Quit having one meeting and then we put on a rail hat and we have another meeting and I'm not
So if we,
ever
if we,
sure why, but
if we just put it under Pine County, we could get rid of the rail authority.
So do you want to make a motion to have
But
them
I-
verify?
Well, I think we need to research the.
I think we
benefits.
need to research it because
There might be a reason
So do you
that
want,
I'm not aware of.
do you want to do the motion? to
Yes,
have that
I say
researched
we research it
and
and see which
determine
one's better.
if to leave them the same or to change one or the other? So we have a motion by Matt to do the research to figure out what to do with the two.
I second Matt's motion.
Thanks, JJ. Matt and JJ, any questions, concerns? Debbie, can you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Chair Lofgren,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldham,
Yes,
Commissioner Ludwig,
Aye. And sorry for being so confused.
Commissioner Holland.
yes.
Thank you.
Alright, motion carried. So we'll adjourn the rail meeting and reconvene to the regular county board meeting. We have commissioner updates. Steve, do you want to do the Lax Band of Ojibwe?
Yes, we met and talked about a number of things. Oh,
So we talked about the youth programming.
the youth programming was probably the most substantive thing we
Right.
talked about, so and we don't have a lot of answers yet back on the transition because they have a new person that's coming on board because the previous person left, but we do know the new person, so we'll be anxious to see where that program goes.
Right. We talked to them about being part of the near zero death.
Yep.
And then we did talk about the meeting that we had together with the county and AMC and DHS.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we did ask them to get us a report on their solar farm because they put in a pretty large solar array by the casino. And that was to help even out their load that they have because they're a huge consumer of electricity. So they partnered with East Central Electric on that project. So
Is there still a connection to our probation from someone out there? We had it for a while. I'm like,
you know,
The cultural community coach,
Yes.
is that the piece?
yes.
yes.
Yeah, so that is operating now under SCRED, the St. Croix River Education District.
Okay.
And so I think there's still, and Terry, looks like Terry is on the call. If he has any insight, I know there's still communication that goes on.
you're muted, Terry.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. The cultural community coach position still exists. The last I heard was that the posting was vacant. The person that was in that position got snapped up by the East Central School District. And so the community coach position is currently vacant. And hopefully I'll have another update on that next week at our Project Rise meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Anything else on the Lax Band?
No.
I think that was it too. Arrowhead Counties Association.
I didn't go. It was just a dinner.
Okay, Snake River Watershed was canceled and the NLX was canceled. HRA and EDA was canceled.
And
Wow.
Central EMS was canceled.
Wow, all right. Anybody have any others?
I do have an other, just that, I think we all got the letter from our ag educator.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really, really good read and, we forget about some of those things that we do in Pine County that, you know, number 6 in Christmas tree production. That's
Yeah.
significant. That's a huge deal.
Yes. Any others?
I went to the NACO's TNT meeting, and one of the things that they talked about was a new program. It was promised, Senator Hickenlooper's office promised by the FCC something to do with their broadband, and it has to do, it's not working with RAP and Replace program. They were told that they would get 50% payment to fix what was broken. And what this is doing is if they have an emergency or something, it can shut down their full internet service for the people. Unfortunately, when they went through to get it filled, they're saying that they're not going to give the 50%. And if they're lucky, they're going to get 39.5% on the cost promised by the FCC. So that's one of the things that they were asking. They need 3 bills to fulfill the promise. It has to do with faulty equipment, no longer available and banned by the FCC. So, and then making broadband faster and better for everyone. So that's one of the big things that are on the list for technology and taxations. One of the things, then I also did the NACO Rural Action Caucus. And there's a valuable program out for summer to end child hunger. And I didn't quite see how it was going to fix everything because they're going to pay $40 per eligible child per month to help them get food, which will help a little bit, but it's not going to help that much. So yeah. The things that came up on the top 3 is infrastructure and technical assistance for federal funding, broadband, passing the 5-year farm bill, and then those were the 3 that were interested in the 3 highest interest for that committee. So that's what I've got for
I have
today.
one more thing.
Yes.
We have to remember to do our campaign finance report between the
thank you.
1st and the 29th.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Are there any others or any other business for today? All right, we've got our upcoming meetings. Take a peek at that and we will adjourn. Thank you.